Hey guys, I'm Lisa. Welcome to Banning, Panning and Beyond. Expanding on from my no-buy rules video, I wanted to explain why I chose a no-buy versus a low-buy. I did already try to record this video once already. However, I found that I got very lost. So today I wanted to try a little bit more of a structured approach. I have made lots of notes and you'll probably see me referring to them fairly regularly. So if you see me looking down at my laptop on my desk in front of me, that's why. So I thought a good place to start for those who may not know is to firstly explain what a no-buy is and what a low-buy is. Not everybody has heard of the concept, as I've found out through my family and friends. So if any of you's out there watching, then this is for you. So I did a little bit of research, and I guess the explanation I'm going to give is fairly basic. So just anybody out there that has a slightly different definition, that's fine. I'm just trying to keep it simple. So essentially a no-buy is when you cut out all non-essential spending for a certain period of time. It doesn't have to be everything. So a lot of people on a no-buy only cut out very specific categories where they tend to overspend, whereas a low-buy is more focused on spending within a set budget. So like I said, I know that that's a pretty simple explanation. I hope I've done it justice, and there are plenty of grey areas in between. So the other thing with a no-buy is that often there are exceptions, allowances and rewards included. And a low buy can also ban spending in certain categories. So you could say you're on a low buy, with a set budget in place, but there's still hard and fast categories that you can't buy in. So like I said, plenty of grey areas there. So I decided to do a hybrid of the two. So it was a year-long replacement only no-buy for specific categories only, but with a budget. So essentially I'm on a no-buy that allows me to purchase a replacement once I run out of a particular product type within a category. So it might be that like makeup is one of my categories. So if I use up all my mascaras, then I'm allowed to buy a single replacement. So the thing is, I guess it makes it different, is the actual having a budget, because a lot of people just have basically it's a replacement and they buy what they like. So I guess that's the point, is when I've used something up, I have to have my budget built up in order to allow me to buy that replacement. Otherwise I have to just go without until I have the money there. So I guess a question would be, what I'm calling a replacements only no-buy could also be referred to as a replacements only low-buy. So what do you guys think about that one? So I guess whatever you call it, the important thing is for anyone that is looking to start a no-buy or a low-buy, is that you have to set yourself very clear rules. I did do a bit of research prior to starting mine. Like I looked into what other people were doing, and obviously I've watched other YouTube videos, and the following pointers are things that I took on board which may help someone that's about to start or has already started and still isn't quite sure that maybe they have be thorough enough in setting their rules. So the first thing I wanted to cover was, don't binge buy right before you start your no-buy or low-buy. I decided at the last minute to start my no-buy a full month early because I thought I was at real risk of binge buying. So, and I knew that though the things that I was likely to binge on would be things like eyeshadow palettes, color cosmetics, not the items that I was allowed to replace during my no-buy year. So there was quite a few palettes that I wanted, which I had in wish lists, and I think the thing that really helped me to push forward with starting the no buy early was looking at those wish lists and realizing that there were quite a few palettes on those that I no longer wanted. So that gave me the confidence that anything else left on those lists would likely suffer the same fate. So what else? I guess that was, I think one of the biggest issues with going on a no-buy is that FOMO that everybody experiences. So finding out that the palettes I did want were no longer on my list really helped to sort of help me to deal with the build-up of that FOMO. The other thing is to be honest with yourself. So know your weaknesses and your temptations and set rules in place to deal with them. Specify the categories that are included in no buy, low buy. You can always add more as you go if you find you're overspending in other areas, which is something I have done myself. I started my first month in December 2019 with particular categories, and by January I had added hair care onto that, and then in January I decided to add candles, so which if you've watched my previous video you'll know about that one already. The other thing is that to be kind to yourself. So you shouldn't view a no buy or low buy as a punishment. It's not good to go in with that negative mindset. So if you feel that, as I've done and a lot of other people have done, is to have a small number of exceptions if you feel that you need them to succeed. So there's no point setting yourself up for failure, and it's not to be used as an excuse though. So you don't want a list of exceptions going to be as long as your arm, because that kind of defeats the purpose of being on a no buy. Make sure you set a minimum time frame for your challenge with a clear start and end date. Choose a period of time that isn't too easy. It needs to be challenging but doable. So there's no point you picking something that you already know you're gonna fail at. You need to know that yes, it's not too easy, but it's going to be a little bit challenging, but I'm confident I can get there. So, and the last thing that I think is important is that we're all human. We all make mistakes, and if you do break on your no buy, that you need to just forgive yourself and just get back on that bandwagon. Don't think that's it, I failed, I give up, I can't do this. You know, it's ideally you don't want that to happen, but I think what's important is that you dust yourself off and keep going. So to get into a breakdown of my choices, I've written here, we all suffer from shiny object syndrome from time to time, but for me it had really gotten out of hand. So I was so focused on all the new products rather than what I already had. So, and that's pretty much what the idea for me of starting a no buy initially was. So I really wanted to focus on and love what I had, and not be distracted by all those new releases. And at the time, budget constraint was not really a consideration for me, but looking back, I know that it should have been. And basically, circumstances in my life changed, and now a budget, you know, has become a necessity. So when I sat down to finalize the details of my no buy, you know, what I was prepared to commit to, I started with a no buy because I'm an all or nothing type person, and I just felt that a low buy was too open-ended and loose for me. Like, it gave me too much room, and I knew that I couldn't trust myself. So I basically thought if I went for that option, that I was probably going to just blow my whole budget on eyeshadow palettes, and then I'd have nothing left for basics. So if I ran out of moisturizer, for example, well, you know, there'd be nothing left in my budget at the end of that month to buy that. So I started with the no buy as a, you know, as a beginning point. And where are we at? Yeah, so I've said a straight up no buy was too restrictive for me because, like I've said, I was worried that I would break and that I would just chuck in the towel. So, which is obviously I'm recommending you don't do that, but I know that I myself would have been at risk of doing that. So I basically knew that I had to do something in between those two. So that's why I went for the replacements only no buy. To me, a replacements only no buy seems a lot simpler than saying I'm on a low buy with, a stack load of categories that, I'm not allowed to spend in. So the other thing in regards to the budget was that I was really concerned that even though I was on a replacements only, that I still had the potential to overspend. So I set a budget basically to prevent myself from just mindlessly buying the most expensive option without any sort of consideration of the cost. And the aim isn't to necessarily buy the cheapest option, but to find a combination of what works and what's affordable, and it's also within my budget. I decided on what most people would probably consider a fairly low budget of only 20 Australian dollars per week. And I'm not anticipating on replacing much for the overall period of my no buy. I have already bought some replacements in this month, but that was kind of, I knew that I was going to need those, but I'm not anticipating that to happen every month. So the object is to not spend my budget each month just because I can. I want to, or I'm allowing any unspent money to roll over to the next month. And one of the reasons I wanted to do that is because I don't know my collection all that well, so I'm not sure that exactly how long certain products will last. I don't know what happens if I accidentally drop my last foundation, for example, and I unexpectedly have to replace it, and there's there could be things that I'm down to my last cleanser or something and I have a reaction to it, so that I'm then forced to replace it. So I need to have that buffer there. And then why a year-long challenge? And honestly, it's because I really believe, for the most part, I have enough to get me through for at least that length of time. If I'd gone with just a straight-up no-buy, versus a replacements only no-buy, I probably wouldn't have gone for such a long period of time, and that's because of the reason of not knowing how long my some of my products will actually last me. So I am happy with what I've chosen, and anybody else that's about to start one, you need to remember that it's your no buy or your low buy, and that the rules you set are based on you, your circumstances and your goals. So best of luck with it all, and thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.